Because we're an apex species and we live in an artificial construct, we don't really have a need in our modern life to be aware of the impact we have on our environment. In the real world, the natural world, if you're not paying attention to the ripples that you create while being out there, you will not see any animals. And the reason isn't that the animals hear you crashing through or smell you. It's because the birds have given you away. In most cases, 2 to 3 minutes ahead of the time you arrive at their location. Anyone here ever play hide and seek before? 2 to 3 minutes head start to hide? And you're talking about deer and bear who are masters at camouflage and concealment. Right? So how do we get into the club? How do we get to a space where the animals allow us to see them? Because that's what they're doing. We learn how to read bird language first, and then how to diffuse it second. So you don't have to learn about all of the songs of birds. There's thousands of species and they're migratory and it gets really confusing. Really, you only need to understand 5 basic expressions of bird vocalization. And the first 2 mean everything's great. Wouldn't that be cool if you could walk through your yard and the birds continue to sing? Because the side effects of that is you'll see the otter more. You'll be allowed to watch as the deer and its young move into the field to feed. That's how profound bypassing bird language can be. And we're not going to pay attention to all of the brightly colored high flyers either. It's those little brown jobbies that share our ground-dwelling reality. The thrushes, the sparrows. These are the ones that we're going to key in on as gatekeepers to the rest of the landscape. Whatever they're doing involves our world. So if the thrush is singing in your yard, right, you know things are good. Thank you, thrush. If instead the thrush goes quiet, that's cause for concern. And already the bear has keyed in on that behavior. When the thrush stops singing, it's the bear that freezes. Well, maybe the deer don't, because they're not as aware. Bear, they kill other bears. So they're at the top of their game with bird language. The next voice of the 5 voices of the birds is the call note. And like the song, the call note means everything's cool. I'm okay, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay, how about you? And it goes down the line from the seniors to the juniors, the expendable adolescents. They're going to get eaten, most of them anyway, because of their lack of awareness. And if one member of that flock refuses to answer in time, maybe they're eating a grub worm or chewing on a beetle, the entirety of that flock freezes in high alert, right? So the disruption in the call note is a cause for alarm. But anyway, we're out there in our yard and the birds are singing and calling to each other. Things are great. And then you hear a ruckus and you think, uh-oh, something's coming, right? But it turns out to be a dogfight between 2 birds. Aerial combat. Flying around the trees, tumbling to the ground. Male-to-male aggression. This is the 3rd voice that we're going to key in on. And it's kind of a smokescreen. It's a false alarm. What are the other birds in the area doing beyond this male-to-male aggression? Right? Are they going, boys, and feeding, continuing their routine? Or are they suddenly gone? Because all of that excitement, those 2 self-absorbed males battling it out for territory or a mate or that stolen worm from one's yard, just like in school when there was a fight and the teacher started coming, replace that teacher with a hawk, and a hungry one at that. Right? So if you see male-to-male aggression, know that it's a smokescreen. It's not a true alarm, but it can also serve as a dinner bell. Keep an eye out for those hawks that might come in, lured by an easy meal. Another smokescreen, and it's a little early in the spring for it to happen now, but midsummer on, you'll hear repetitive, almost annoying calls for birds that are acting a little strange. Feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me. Adolescent, self-absorbed feeding behavior. And it's another dinner bell because the hawks also have teenagers at home in the nest who are hungry. You can't wait to scoop up a fresh meal. You should know 80% of the birds born this spring will be eaten. They will die. The thrush will have 2, sometimes 3 clutches, and out of that, maybe they'll replace their own population of the parent birds. It's that razor thin. Beyond that self-absorbed call, again, you have to look to see what the others are doing. You can see almost the pity in other species as they watch the tattered and tired parent bird with a mouthful of insects fly into that opening, plop those insects in front of that teenager who's got the best groomed feathers, looks really sharp, kind of really a snappy looking adult-sized bird, but then looks expectantly for that mother bird to shove that food right in their beak. And then, as if to say, oh, do it yourself, please, they fly away real fast with parent birds. And for good reason, because they're putting themselves at risk. And then our bread and butter. This is the magic. This is the sequence that we have to learn to read. First, because of the ripples that we make, and then later, to understand the movement outside of our own physical ability. And that's the alarm sequence. You get 3 strikes. It's just like baseball. 3 strikes and you're out. Strike 1. The bird stops its behavior. Maybe it was feeding. Maybe it was singing or companion calling. But you had a thought, and the thought was, I'm going to go outside. And suddenly, that bird in your yard goes quiet. Strike 1. Now remember, the more advanced awareness animals know you're coming at that silence, that dead space that you created with that thought. Strike 2, nervous behavior. So sometimes, if you're in a good mood and you're not in a hurry, you go outside and that bird will just hook onto a branch, maybe 2.5, 3 meters up off the ground, right? Other times, you're frustrated, you're late for work, you burst out of the house and they fly for their lives. Now in the woods, you have hikers, and they have a place to be and a time to get there, and they've got this big backpack and they've got these heavy boots. And if you happen to be sitting on the side of that trail, maybe you see the squirrels feeding, nuzzling in the leaves, and the birds are singing close by like they are today. And suddenly, a mass of panic sweeps over your head, right? What is that? See, the birds react in that way. We call it bird plow effect. They react in that way to 2 primary stimuli. The first one is wildfire, and the second one are humans having a place to be and a time to get there, stomping through their territory. It's not natural. It's like Godzilla with rabies has come through their living room, right? So we're going to work on minimizing our bird plow effect and then eliminating it altogether. And I want to give you some tools before I cut you loose to see how well you do. You have an awareness bubble that stretches out to as far as you can see and hear, right? So you're going to be listening to the silences in wide-angle vision and moving from your center so you don't have the Godzilla effect. But then you have a disturbance bubble. And for most people in our modern world, the disturbance bubble is bigger, goes out further in all directions than our awareness bubble. So we don't even know how many deer, bear, otter, wolverine have watched us move through this landscape in the last few days. But I'm sure there's more than we were aware of. Right? So how do we work this? How do we bring in our disturbance bubble and expand out our awareness bubble? Quite simply, you got to learn the law of the land. Rule number 1, do not make direct eye contact with birds. Yeah, sure, glance, but then look away, out of respect. In nature, a direct stare is a challenge. I want to eat you, I want to mate with you, I want to fight you for your territory. And don't flatter yourselves. None of those birds are interested in any of those options. Right? So be respectful. You're building a contract now. Rule number 2. Use passive body language to respect that bird's space. When I'm moving through the forest, I'll nibble on spruce tips. I'll look at tracks. I'll try to feel the direction and personality of the wind on my neck, my cheeks, right? Anything I can do to keep this from giving me a place to walk to. I'm moving toward, not to. And in this way, I'm actually mimicking an herbivore, a non-threatening species. So my body language cues, it's not enough, oh, okay, round my shoulders, keep my head kind of submissive down, like not the alpha dog, but one of the more submissive omegas. Do everything no, when you think too hard, you ruin it. Shapeshift into your favorite herbivore. Shapeshift into that young 2-year-old soft-eyed doe. Yeah? Become a welcoming, healing presence in your landscape. Bring those emotions up and hold them as the center of your core. And the final one, 3. Thankfulness is an emotion born out of, I guess the only term is like relationship, right? You develop a relationship. If you develop a relationship with the birds in your yard, they're going to tell you every single time when somebody's coming to your house or when that bicycle is driving by. They're going to let you know when the mail has arrived, when someone drops off a letter, right? Having that appreciation is the fuel to building deeper levels of respect. I used to feed the squirrels. I'd get acorns and shake them in my hand and they'd come running up. Right? I used to feed them right out of my hand. And what happens is everybody else would cause the squirrels to alarm. Did you ever hear squirrels alarming? But I'd be able to walk right through. In fact, they would come through the trail and I'd have to step off the side so they could go. To keep that contract going. And as a result, I was allowed to follow a raccoon as she taught her little ones how to turn over rocks and eat grubs, salamanders, and ants. My kids, they thought that was normal. All the way up until they got into middle school, they thought that's what everybody does. So building that respect through a sense of thankfulness and appreciation. When an animal shows itself to you, realize that that was that animal's choice. It felt comfortable enough. And the more that happens, the deeper into that club you get. Until, and here's kind of a comment on you're there, until you can walk out into that field with those deer as they're grazing. They see you as an agent of safety instead of threat. And how do we reconcile that with hunting season? Well, that's called hunting in the old way. Yeah? Because we have to kill every day in order to eat. How do we reconcile those two energies? Bambi and tasty meat kind of go together, huh? Well, hunting in the old way was loving the animal and feeling that pain of separation every day, but then living a life deserving of it. I'm just putting that out there. That's more of a challenge by choice than taking off your shoes to walk in the woods, isn't it? Living a life deserving of the fact that you kill every day in order to live. You got to find your own balance with that one. But these birds, they'll get you there, if you choose, right? Can you feel the same way about that fast food burger as you do about your pet dog that you had to kill because your family was starving that winter and you? I don't know. But it's funny, these little fluffy, feathery things that are right here, right above your head, they don't look like much, but they're the early warning and detection system for all else. And if If you're in that space where you can walk out with the deer, you can sit in your house and hear a weasel working the rock wall that is out of sight, even if you were outside in your backyard. You could tell a hawk is coming moments before it does and look up just in time to see it. You let the bear slip away out of respect as you move a group through your woods. And you follow its movement by what the birds are doing as it works its way around your group and observes you from afar. You have a mutual awareness and appreciation for each other. Bird language, in short, is really the language of nature. It's a direct feedback loop to what you have going on in here and in here, and it's not going to lie. Any questions? What I'd like to do, you can see how they all came filling in, right? It took what? About 20 minutes for the birds to start filling in, with all of us sitting here. That's pretty good. Kind of cheated though, because one of the birds lives in this little birdhouse on this perch. But there she goes, dropping into feed somebody. Back up again. Oh, I just got scolded at because I looked at her. Did you hear?